Russia is losing the war in Ukraine and is gradually beginning to plead for mercy. It seems that things are going terribly wrong for the Kremlin. It has come to the point where even the bunker leader has started complaining about Western weapons against which his much vaunted army is simply powerless.
Regarding the supply of weapons. The supply of weapons to the conflict zone is always bad.
Meanwhile, our Western partners continue to give Putin more and more seemingly increasing reasons to panic.
Europe has started ramping up in terms of military technical assistance to Ukraine, including weapons.
The United States is not lagging behind either. The latter not only supply us with ammunition and equipment, but in the literal sense of the word, they are handing over to the armed forces of Ukraine the latest developments of the American military, to which the Kremlin simply has no counter.
And this is a very serious and very dangerous step.
What is this incredible advanced weaponry that makes the bunker dwellers truly tremble, and what is modern foreign equipment indeed capable of in the skilled hands of our defenders? All about this in today's Arsenal. Spoiler: for the Russians on the front, this news will be explosive. The armed forces of Ukraine can boast another military upgrade from our allies. As it became known recently, the armed forces of Ukraine are already actively testing the experimental American light 105mm self-propelled artillery unit, HAKM, on the battlefield.
This has already caused such a moral and ethical shock in Russia.
This installation is quite revolutionary, as noted by both Western and Ukrainian military experts. At first glance, it may seem that the newly created American self-propelled artillery unit is nothing remarkable. Just another Frankenstein, as it is commonly said now. Of course, after all, the Americans have essentially combined two types of weaponry by mounting M20 guns, now with a caliber of 105mm on a Humvee chassis. But in reality, it's much more complex and technologically advanced than it appears from the outside.
The concept is very interesting. The platform is equipped with a computerized fire control system that allows for very quick targeting of the enemy. A speed radar assists with this, and there is also direct fire observation.
Let's take a moment to focus on the 105mm gun itself and its equipment. With a length of over 5 meters, the gun weighs only 1,100 kilograms. This is precisely what allows it to be mounted on any light platform. Since the American self-propelled artillery unit is completely new, it incorporates all the advanced technologies of the USA. HAKM has the capability for direct fire through a sight with a digital camera, combined with a digital battle management system. This capability allows the personnel to be protected from direct enemy fire.
It's worth pausing on this point separately. It is important for many of our clients, and the further we go, the much more it becomes. Thus, on today's battlefield, the crew's life is the top priority. We have achieved significant improvements in the protection of our armored vehicles.
The American self-propelled artillery unit also stands out for its high rate of fire. The 155mm artillery system is capable of firing 8 rounds per minute at a range of up to 12 kilometers.
The Humvee Shock is one of our latest products. It is currently being manufactured in the United States of America. We are very optimistic and positive about the prospects of this system. It is the only 105mm howitzer in the world capable of firing in a full 360-degree range. So this is a significant step forward in mobile artillery.
A rather innovative solution in the American HAKM is the simplicity of its maintenance. Most of the maintenance operations for the self-propelled artillery unit can be carried out solely by the crew. This is not only convenient, but also reduces maintenance costs due to its efficient design. Another distinctive feature of the HAKM is its maneuverability and speed of deployment. The self-propelled artillery unit is ready to fire its first shot in less than 90 seconds after arriving at the location, and can leave the position after firing in just 3 minutes.
This development is attracting many. After all, the ammunition load includes M1 high explosive shell, M3T14, M60 series ammunition, explosive shells, and M9 Montatrine rockets.
The main advantages of this system are its high mobility, and consequently its rate of fire. It's about 8 shots in the first 3 minutes. In fact, we're essentially talking about using the principle of soft recoil, which allows the M20 gun to be mounted on this vehicle, significantly increasing the overall maneuverability and survivability of both the self-propelled artillery unit itself and the combat crew directly. Roughly speaking, using the ability to maneuver, they approached, turned around in 2 minutes and delivered a fire strike on enemy positions, and quite an intense one at that.
As we have already mentioned, the intensity of fire against the enemy in the American self-propelled artillery unit is ensured by the 155mm gun. Such a gun is currently not in service with almost any country in the world, except for the USA and now Ukraine.
If you look closely, you can see that it has stabilizers at the front and back, and they lower to the ground to ensure more stable firing, such as when needed.
Among other things, the new American weapon also features a unique soft recoil technology, allowing the off-road vehicle not to fall apart after the first burst from the self-propelled artillery unit.
It is quite telling that, not coincidentally, the testing of the tactical and technical characteristics of the self-propelled artillery unit is being conducted in combat conditions directly on Ukrainian territory. That is for the American military-industrial complex, this is a unique opportunity to conduct testing in real combat conditions. For the Ukrainian side, this is accordingly an opportunity to enhance firepower directly against the positions of the occupiers.
It is precisely the testing of their advanced weaponry in military conditions that the current American military-industrial complex lacks. After all, what could be a better advertisement than Russian equipment burning after being hit by a 105mm gun? That's why this unique self-propelled artillery unit was in service with the Ukrainian armed forces before even the American army itself.
I will tell you about a recent experience. We recently delivered a 105mm self-propelled artillery system to Ukraine. We sent it to Ukraine on April 26th and spent 2 weeks training them on how to use it, after which the Ukrainian armed forces immediately began testing it. This system is designed to be one of the first systems with soft recoil in combat, which is why it moves very quickly.
All of this instills genuine fear among the occupiers. After all, the Russians have nothing to counter modern American technology. They have long since taken out all the old junk from storage, even from World War II times. With such outdated equipment, as they say, Heike has a short conversation. Did you like the video? Then don't forget to give it a like. And also, please write in the comments, what other weapons would you like to hear about in future episodes? And of course, it wouldn't hurt to definitely subscribe to our channel, so you don't miss new episodes of Arsenal.
Gods of war, relentlessly and strategically destroying ammunition depots, heavy military equipment, enemy personnel, and fortified enemy positions.
For Bucha, for Irpin, for Hostomel! Glory to Ukraine!
Weapons that strike terror into the soldier sitting in the trench.
I'm telling you, honestly, fuck the Russians here. Literally, they'll just come in, hang around for a couple of days, relax, and that's it. They're fucked. Sometimes the Russians, bam, they're back out.
They have long since changed the rules of war. All of this is about the artillerymen and, of course, the artillery systems. Let's take a closer look at the artillery arsenal of the forces of good and evil. Modern field artillery comes in two main types, towed and of course self-propelled. The Allies are actively providing support to Ukraine by supplying both of these types. For example, the British towed howitzer M777 and the French advanced self-propelled artillery system Caesar. But let's take a closer look at self-propelled guns, SPGs, since they have a clear advantage over their towed counterparts.
Towed artillery is already, its share is becoming much smaller. Why is that? Because towed artillery still requires time. And today, time is one of the main factors when it comes to responding to enemy fire.
Towed artillery objectively has one main advantage: it's cheaper. In all other respects, self-propelled artillery is preferable and more practical.
Why is that? Because it determines maneuverability. Maneuverability in terms of fire. First, moving between firing positions, and second, leaving a firing position after completing a fire mission.
Ukraine has its own representative in the class of self-propelled artillery, the Bohdana. This howitzer was unveiled in 2018. They didn't manage to start mass production, so for now there is only one unit of this howitzer. The Ukrainian self-propelled artillery system received its baptism by fire during the war. It was the Bohdana that struck the occupiers' positions on Snake Island.
Fire on the Russian occupiers on Snake Island!
The technical specifications of the Ukrainian self-propelled artillery system, developed at one of Ukraine's factories, are as follows. Weight 28 tons. The crew operating the Ukrainian howitzer has 5 people. Maximum speed 80 kilometers per hour. It uses NATO standard shells with a caliber of 155 millimeters. The barrel length is 52 calibers, which is just over 8 meters. Rate of fire 5 to 6 rounds per minute. Maximum range with high explosive fragmentation shells up to 42 kilometers, and with rocket-assisted projectiles up to 50 kilometers. The cost of this self-propelled artillery system is over $5 million. Another significant advantage of the Bogdana is its unmanned turret, which in itself simplifies the crew's work thanks to the automatic loading system and the high level of automation of the self-propelled gun. The Bogdana runs on a Kiraz 63221 wheeled chassis, which, provided there is a paved road, allows it to outrun any tracked opponent. Why is this advantage over tracked opponents so significant? Because in Russia, all self-propelled artillery systems are tracked.
A tracked platform is, after all, slower. And as for off-road capability, there's basically no difference. In fact, sometimes a wheeled chassis is even more capable off-road than a tracked one.
Another significant advantage not only of the Ukrainian system, but of any Western self-propelled artillery, is the caliber of its shells. As we mentioned earlier, the Bohdana has a 155mm caliber, the so-called NATO standard. All Soviet and consequently modern Russian self-propelled artillery systems have a 152mm caliber.
And this allows for significantly greater accuracy and increased operational range. For example, in practical terms, if we take Soviet howitzers with a 152mm caliber, their maximum range is up to 30 kilometers.
In this war, the occupiers are actively using the 2S-19 howitzer, also known as the Mista-S, and the 2S-3 Akatsiya. Since the Mesta is much newer and more modern, let's take a closer look at this particular piece of occupier equipment.
Now let me repeat, 35.
The Mista-S has a tracked chassis and a manned turret. The specifications of the Russian self-propelled artillery are as follows. Weight of 42 tons, crew of 5, speed of 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, a 152mm caliber shell, barrel length of 47 calibers, and a rate of fire of 8 rounds per minute. Maximum firing range, with high explosive fragmentation shells, 24 kilometers, with rocket-assisted projectiles, 29 kilometers. The cost of this self-propelled gun is about $2.5 million. So, if we sum up a kind of interim result based on the 3 most important components, namely mobility, rate of fire, and firing range, the occupier's artillery wins in rate of fire, but loses in mobility and, even more importantly, in range.
If you have the advantage in range, then you have the advantage in the survivability of your artillery. In other words, you can reach the enemy, but the enemy cannot reach you. This is where Western artillery has the upper hand.
Currently, the Allies are providing Ukraine with various self-propelled artillery. Poland is supplying dozens of new self-propelled guns it produces, the Crab. The French have also joined and supplied the Caesar, which is similar to the Bohdana. All of these are modern howitzers that meet all NATO standards. In addition to aforementioned self-propelled guns, the Allies gave Kiev a benchmark in self-propelled artillery, the PZ-H-2000 howitzer. This howitzer had proven itself on the front lines mid-June.
On average, a mission involving up to 6 rounds typically takes no more than a minute and a half.
The specifications of this German classic are as follows. Weight, 55 tons, crew, 5 people, speed, 67 kilometers per hour. The shell is, of course, a NATO standard 155 millimeters, barrel length, 52 calibers, rate of fire 10 to 12 rounds per minute. The maximum firing range with a high explosive fragmentation shell is about 45 kilometers, and with a rocket-assisted shell, it's as much as 67. The price of this artillery piece matches its capabilities, about $15 million. The Netherlands and Germany have already delivered several dozen of these self-propelled howitzers. But in addition to its impressive characteristics, the Panzer has another truly unique property.
For example, it has a function called rapid fire. That is, in the first 10 seconds, the self-propelled howitzer can fire 3 shots. The Russian Federation simply does not have this function at all.
In practice, this is accomplished by firing rapidly in rapid succession at different barrel elevation angles, so that all the shells fired land almost at the same spot at the same time.
It fires 5 shots, but all 5 shells hit the target simultaneously. So one gun can essentially imitate a salvo from almost an entire battery.
There is also another interesting example of a self-propelled gun, which unfortunately has not yet been delivered to Ukraine. But judging by periodic statements from high-ranking officials, the transfer of the Swedish Archer may happen very soon.
The turret is unmanned. The crew sits in the cabin. Just like the Swedish Archer, there the crew consists of 2 people, the commander and the driver. No one gets out anywhere. The self-propelled gun stops, lowers its stabilizing legs, spades, braces against ground. Commander entered coordinates. The gun moves into firing position, fires at the target, packs up, raises the spades, and drives off. That's it.
The automation of the Swedish Archer is taken to the absolute maximum. Unlike all the previously mentioned self-propelled guns, the crew here never leaves the cabin at all, and the time it takes to deploy, fire, and pack up after completing the mission is no more than 1.5 minutes. In this video, the efficiency of the Swedish self-propelled gun is demonstrated. The specifications of the Swedish Archer are as follows. Weight 30 tons, crew 2 people, speed 70 kilometers per hour, a 155mm shell, barrel length 52 calibers, rate of fire 8 rounds per minute. The maximum firing range with a high explosive fragmentation shell is 30 kilometers and with a rocket-assisted projectile over 45. The cost of this self-propelled gun is $5 million. As we can see, the arsenal of self-propelled artillery systems is quite diverse. There are fast self-propelled guns like the Ukrainian Bohdana and the French Caesar. There are incredibly efficient and automated Swedish Archers. There are expensive, but at the same time the fastest firing and longest range German Panzers. And then there are the cheap and consequently lagging in all combat characteristics Russian self-propelled guns.